Hi guys and welcome to another Fool of the Week. This week's Fool is former Tory and newly minted Reform UK MP Sarah Pochin. So as we know, the EU and the UK signed something of a mini deal a few days ago which would see a whole range of areas covered. Food, including certain fish, would see less red tape when exported, the Erasmus Plus scheme would allow young people to have freer movement, and probably biggest of all, UK weapons manufacturers would no longer be left out of a massive EU defence spending drive. However, Sarah here doesn't understand that. Frankly, she doesn't seem to understand pretty much anything. But that doesn't stop her from running her mouth. What she said here is beyond embarrassing. And remember, people voted for this individual.
Another aspect that'll get people talking is defence, and this whole access to this rearmament fund. Yes. Where are you on this? I mean, I've got to say, we don't even know the costs of a lot of this stuff. All of that detail, of course, will come out in due course.
Look, I just don't understand what part of this deal is good for us. Our defence industry is leading in the world in terms of its technology and its ability to create weapons at the end of the day. Why are we having to pay millions, if not billions, to have access to bid for contracts? We're not talking about being, having any favourable treatment.
Okay, let's try and explain this in as simple as terms as possible. The UK is not paying to bid for contracts. It's been allowed in, but if, for example, it wants to provide certain weapons and it needs to collaborate with other countries, then it needs to make sure that it's putting in the money, the investment necessary to achieve those goals. So let's take a simple example, a hypothetical. Let's say that the UK are producing tanks, and those tanks don't have anti-drone devices, but anti-drone devices are being developed in Germany. So what could happen as a result of this is the UK manufacturer of the tanks would collaborate with the German manufacturer of the anti-drone devices or anti-drone technology, and that would be installed into the tank. And when the tank is sold, both parties receive money from that. But of course, they have to spend money to work together. So the companies would be investing in new technology to facilitate the anti-drone device or changes in the tank to facilitate that. That's what we're talking about. Once again, this is a hypothetical. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But just to simplify this, to make it as easy for people to understand as possible, there's no you need to pay in order to be part of this. Yes, there will be investment required, but that's part of the process, not you have to pay to make a bid.
We're just talking about having access to bid for contracts, for arms contracts. Now, the fact is, we are leading the way, so surely people should be paying us to be bidding for our contracts. Why are we giving in? This is no deal. This is another example.
Okay, so this is the problem with Reform UK. They're against everything. They're not for anything, it seems. They're against it. So what would she instead say? Well, what we do is we don't do a deal with the European Union. So UK manufacturers sit on the sideline. And then whether you agree with weapons manufacturing, whether you agree with investment in weapons manufacturing is a separate issue. But the EU, as a result of the war in Ukraine, have decided we're going to pump a huge amount of money into rearmament. Now, does the UK want to be part of that? The EU would like the UK to be part of that. But in order to be part of it, you need to contribute something. And part of that contribution is research and development, is making sure that the business have access to the funds necessary. It's quite complicated. But it seems Reform UK are against that. See, people like Sarah should go to the communities that rely on these jobs and say to them, we're against investment in your community. We want to cut jobs. We want to see you on the dole because we're against whatever this agreement is.
Example of trying to fool the UK public. The UK public are not stupid. They know that...
Some people are because they voted for you. I'm sorry. We're not supposed to say the voters are stupid, but is there still anyone who voted for this individual who thinks it was a good idea? Oh my goodness. Reform are certainly not sending their best. Or if this is the best, well, the situation is pretty dire.
We have some of the best arms productions in the world. Why are we paying to even have the opportunity to win these deals?
Barry?
No, I think it's about co-production and what we do. And if you look at some of the best weaponry that we have been part of creating, is when we are corresponding with other countries and manufacturing together. And we will put part of the components in there. They will put part of the components in there, and then we sell it and we get a proportionate share of it.
Well said, Barry. Barry explained it much better and much more calmly than I did. This is what it's about. It's collaboration with other countries, cooperating with other countries in order to produce something. And then when it's sold to whatever military unit or whatever army is buying it, the British manufacturer benefits and the other manufacturer benefits. But in order to benefit, you need to be part of the process. I don't know what she's trying to sell here. Is she trying to sell the idea that the UK had to pay money to be part of this tendering process? Is she honestly trying to suggest that? Because that's not what's on the table. The UK, if you want to be part of this, you need to contribute. But contribute in the sense that you need to be part of the process of developing new technologies, research and development, stuff like that.
So it's our contribution to what we will be producing together.
Which, Barry, will have to pay millions to even get the opportunity to contribute. So that is no deal.
Well, I'm sorry, if it means, as Chopper actually said on the programme, that this is worth potentially £9 billion to our defence industries, then it's certainly one that the defence industries themselves, you said, well, look what the fishermen are saying. Let's look at what the defence industries are saying. They're saying we've been crying out for this. We were excluded. We're now back in the frame. We're going to be able...
What is the point of Reform UK? As I said before, it's just about standing in the way of things. We're against good stuff. We're against everything. This is a massive boon for the weapons industry. Once again, you don't have to agree with the weapons industry. Just looking at the figures, this is going to create jobs. This is going to secure jobs. The EU is investing massively in defence. Does the UK want to be part of that? Yes, it does. Does the EU want the UK to be part of that? Yes, it does. Otherwise, it wouldn't have signed up to this. But what do Reform UK actually represent? Like, she didn't say, okay, there are some good and bad regarding this deal. We're not happy with this. No, she just said, I'm against everything. By saying that, she's put herself in a position where she's against investment. She's against protecting jobs. She's against creating jobs.
To produce, we're going to be able to actually get the financial
It's not
benefit.
the defence industries that will have to be paying the millions, if not billions, to even get the opportunity to go down this road. It'll be, yet again, the British taxpayer sold out by the Labour government.
Oh, my goodness. In what way is the British taxpayer being sold out? Yes, taxpayer money will go in some ways to research and development. But taxpayer money goes to research and development all the time. So wouldn't it be better that it's going and it allows UK manufacturers to access this fund, as opposed to, well, we're developing new technologies, but we can't sell them. We can't integrate them into other systems. We can't collaborate with our neighbours and allies. Once again, what does Reform UK represent? I don't know, apart from we're against everything. And that's why Sarah is our Fool of the Week.